Hello, and welcome to an episode of Todd Talks, and Todd Talks people listen. Hopefully. Sorry, I had something in my chest there. So, first off, yes, new webcam. I think it looks good. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I will try and maintain this quality from now on. And we are here to talk about the new death battle between Sabrewulf and Jon Talbain. It's Killer Instinct versus Darkstalkers. Now, quick aside, for those of you who remember my last video, oopsie. Okay, so really quick, red versus blue. Their battle is going to be the next battle coming out on November 15th for Rooster Teeth first members, and then November 16th for YouTubers because they delayed the Red versus Blue season zero, and so they asked Death Battle to do this, and they did so because they want to support their friends. So that's what happened. The Death Battle is fine. It just got delayed. So with that, we're focusing on this death battle, which is our appropriately themed Halloween death battle of Sabrewulf versus Jon Talbain. So let's get into it. And I promise this one's going to be less than 30 minutes because there's not a lot to talk about with these guys. So, Baron Conrad von Sabrewulf, which, yes, Boomstick does sound like a vampire name, was once a well-known aristocrat in the world of Killer Instinct, but he had a couple problems. Mainly, he was a pretty bad drunk, and he was known to be ensnared in certain vices. And one day, after stumbling around in his family's castle that he inherited when they weren't doing so well, he found a secret chamber that was the secret home of the Dark Guard. I think I got that name right. Basically, his family was a bunch of monster hunters, and it's even specifically stated that they are the reason why there wasn't any vampires and werewolves left in Europe. So while stumbling around, he just so happened to cut himself on a severed arm, which just happened to be a severed arm of a werewolf. And anyone who knows werewolf lore knows that you really don't want to get bit by them or scratched by them because they can pass on their lycanthropy, which is the art of becoming a werewolf. And so, sure enough, a full moon later, Von Saberwolf became Saberwolf. And the rampage that ensued all but ensured that he was going to be stuck in his werewolf form. Now, he was so scared by his werewolf nature that he wanted to do nothing more than to get cured, and he went to extreme measures to try and do so, including becoming a part of the first Killer Instinct tournament when Ultratech and Arya promised a scientific cure should he succeed. Depending on the ending you get, they either tell the truth because in one case he does get cured, but in most cases they lied because not only does he not get cured after not winning the tournament, they kidnap him and start experimenting on him because in their minds he is one of the deadliest creatures on the entire planet, and that's saying something when Arya says it, all right? And so they try to experiment on him. They actually replaced his arms with cybernetics, which, if you know TJ Combo, is a very big trend of Ultratechs for some reason. And so he eventually did escape, and he ripped out his implants because, of course, he did. Again, a theme with alongside TJ. And he spent his days trying incredibly hard to try and defeat the wolf within. The problem was is that, again, depending on the endings you receive, he just doesn't do well. Like, he at one point actually tried to starve himself of blood because he's a werewolf and he needs to feed. And he tried to starve himself of this, thinking that the wolf would die, but the wolf wouldn't die. Nothing's more dangerous than a cornered wolf or a hungry wolf, and so he just became even more ferocious. And he actually started dabbling in relics and magic and spells and potions to try and get better. And to his credit, he did actually heal his arms via potions after he ripped out those cybernetic implants. But nothing he ever really did was able to save him from being the wolf within. Now, again, because this is killer instinct and a fighting game, there's multiple endings. In one case, a couple cases, he did get cured. In one case, he actually became like one with the wolf within. But in most cases, Sabrewulf is just a feral animal of a man trying to just lash out at anyone who is around him. And because of that, he is an incredibly aggressive fighter. He does not have fighting training, but he goes off of his natural wolf instincts, which most times it's enough. Because as a fighting game character, he has to go against his entire roster of characters, including the full lore robot, people like Orchid and Jago, who are basically demigods. Gargos, and there was another god character I forgot. But he's had to go up against all the Riptor, of course, the Raptor, because who doesn't want a wolf versus Raptor fight? Am I right, people? I know I'm right. So yeah, there's that. He literally like lashes out at people. He's known as an incredibly aggressive fighter. He is about getting on your opponents and overwhelming them with just pure power and sometimes skill. He has a lot of really up close and personal attacks. Like he's got a move called the hamstring, where he actually tries to go for your legs to cripple you. He has various combo techniques, including a powered up combos via the shadow moves. He can increase his damage by 25% by, as the death battle says it, like howling at the mode, but it's his instinct mode. He can increase his power, do more chip damage, just become an even more intense fighter. But the catch with this is that because he's so incredibly aggressive, it can be easy to dodge his attacks if you're smart enough, and a good defensive fighter will be able to withstand his defensive abilities. Now, that being said, he's still really tough. Like his claws are enough to rip through steel. Okay. Uh, he is tough enough to suffer a machine gun fire. Like it was in a novella, but he got shot multiple times with a machine gun, and he just took it because of course he did. Um, and his strength is enough to knock foes into the air. It's stated that he can um, actually like knock people through windows, but again, that's just a mechanic of the game. So you gotta understand that. But considering some of the foes he's fought, like the full goal robot is 550 pounds, and so lifting that thing up into the air is a pretty good strength feat. All right, and when he gets into his ultra combo, you're basically dead. It's a 28 hit combo that ends in a uppercut kick, and it's just absolutely devastating. So he's a lot, but again, he's really aggressive. He's purely animalistic. Now, it's stated that he does have these interesting moments of patience, because he realizes, he actually stated in the story that he realized that a predator's best advantage is being patient. But that doesn't always apply, especially when the wolf within comes out and he has certain super forms where he can actually release his inhibitions and just go full metal or mental werewolf and just slash without mercy. Because remember, he is still a man, but that wolf is just so overpowering. All right, and even he knows that as the games went on, that he's kind of screwed. He gets more and more desperate. That's why he does all this arcane stuff and trying to deprive himself of food just so that the wolf will die. But his eternal struggle is the one of a man trying to reclaim his humanity. And while sometimes it works, most times it doesn't. And that just makes Sabrewulf all the more deadly, because do you really want to tick off a wolf? Do you? I didn't think so. All right, moving on to Jon Talbain in the world of Darkstalkers. Now, in the world of Darkstalkers, there are two worlds. There is the world of the humans, and there is the home of the Makai. Now, the Makai are the monsters, and of course, the most powerful among them are known as the Darkstalkers. And there are 7 royal families, if I remember the Death Battle video correctly, and they rule over the land while also, governing their own kind, because each one is a different kind. You got your vampires, your succubuses, and can I just say this? It's a weird word, succubus. Succubus. All right, and of course the werewolves. where one of them is literally named Wolf Lord, and eventually he fell in love with a human who gave birth to a child who, and she died. She, the mother, died soon after, leaving the child alone because Wolf Daddy was not a good guy and he left. So enter Gallon, aka Jon Talbain, and for a while, because he's part human, he stayed human and he was fine. He had a happy life. He didn't feel any bitterness towards his parents because he never really knew them. And he just tried to live on during his life. But then, as you would expect, a full moon came. He got turned into a werewolf and he was shunned. He was shunned by all the humans except for kids, apparently. More on that in a bit. And he spent a lot of his life trying to, not unlike Sabrewulf, try and become human again. And after defeating Pyron, more on him in a bit, uh, he felt he actually transformed back into human and stayed that way for a very long time. But eventually, he was he returned to his wolf form and he became very, very scared. And so he tried to, live the best way he could until he met a martial arts master. And though the master wiped the floor with him, all right, he like totally just owned Talbain. And then he showed compassion upon Jon by teaching him this combat. Now, Death Battle claims that it's a Shotokan karate that he learned. I saw another side that said it was more of Jeet Kune Do, which is a Bruce Lee's personal karate or personal kung fu technique. But either way, he learned a martial art, and this gave him something that he desperately desired: control. He had perfect control over his werewolf form. Now, yes, he could go and uh, release his inner wolf, but most times he preferred to maintain his human insides. It was stated that he has the humanity inside him, but he's got the wolf exterior. So yeah. This sounds anime. Darkstalkers is basically an anime. Actually, it was an anime. Never mind. So yes, so through this mastering of martial arts, which he practices every day to make sure he maintains, it's a key thing right there. He became an even more proficient fighter because he learned to harness not just his body in terms of his claws and his feet, but also the energy inside. Yes, there is ki in Darkstalkers, and because of that, he can do a lot of really cool attacks like the Beast Cannon and the Dragon Cannon and the Mirage Body and more. And of course, like Bruce Lee, he's got nunchucks. So yes, there's a werewolf that has nunchucks. How did I not know about this? So I like wolves, but so through this, Jon Talbain became a very incredible fighter, and even though he's a B-class Darkstalker, he has gone up against A-class Darkstalkers and has held his own more times than not. And that's saying something. So he is incredibly gifted, but the most important thing about him is that Jon Talbain is fast, all right? It's stated that he's faster than the wind. Now, what that actually means is up to interpretation, but we can discern certain things. For example, he escaped a moving train while being besieged by robots, so there's that. He dodged bullets definitively, so he is faster than certain bullets. And as noted, he has his Mirage Body technique where he moves so fast you see after images. But those after images have mass, and thus it's basically like two Jon Talbains attacking you at once. So he is that fast. It is specifically stated that he is the fastest Darkstalker out there. And considering a lot of the other characters that are in Darkstalkers, that's a pretty impressive feat. All right. Now, as for strength, this is where things get a little tricky because he is an incredibly strong Darkstalker. They have their own robot called, what was it? It had a really weird name. I'm just going to call it Robot H. All right. He fought multiple of these robots, which weighed 2.2 tons. All right. And not only did he beat them, he sliced one of them in half with a single kick. All right, so and you know that these are durable robots. I mean, why would you make a 2.2-ton robot if it wasn't meant to be durable? But yeah, he sliced it with the kick, one kick, one. All right. Now that being said, he is not the strongest Darkstalker out there, and he has been defeated by certain Darkstalkers, and he is taking kicks and hard hits from people like Felicia, who is the only other Darkstalkers character to ever be in Death Battle. Go watch it, it's in season 1. But he has held his own, and because of his fighting style, which again, depending on how you view the martial art, he is both an offensive and a defensive fighter. Now, his defenses are a bit lacking, which is again kind of ironic given what Death Battle said about his fighting style today. But it is stated that he has perfect control and of his body and his movements so that he can block attacks, but also he likes to get up close and personal with his foes and just let loose like a flurry of his nunchuck attacks or his various slashes, and of course the beast cannon and dragon cannon. The beast cannon, which he uses to charge up his energy and just shoot at an opponent, he can actually change in midair. So if say someone jumps as he's coming at them, he can go right after them. And then the dragon cannon is just a fiery dragon of death. So yeah. So just to be clear, this is a wolf that has human nunchucks that fires dragons. Welcome to Darkstalkers. And but his abilities are matched to his speed so that he can always be around an opponent. He even has a move called the what was it? The quick jump hop or something like that, and he'll use it to like quickly jump over an opponent so that he has their back. And of course, when you have the back to the opponent, you just get wailed. And he uses his nunchucks to do a flurry of strikes. He has Guile's basically leg uppercut, but he charges it with his ki. He has like I mentioned, the Mirage body, where he can go so fast that he does basically a double take and can punch you with like twice the mass, et cetera, et cetera. He's all about overwhelming his opponents with just very powerful attacks, which is kind of a bad thing because as I read an actual gameplay guide to Jon Talbain because for whatever reason the wikis were just lacking, but I read a gameplay guide about it, and it said that Jon is an incredibly easy fighter to learn and is very good to master, but he can be incredibly predictable if you're not careful. So a smart fighter will know how to anticipate Jon's movements and thus be able to overwhelm him. So yeah, but still, he is a very powerful Darkstalker. He is an incredibly strong Darkstalker, and with his skills and his balance in terms of who he is, he's not the easiest guy to defeat, and he loves kids. Yeah, for whatever reason, kids don't mind a fuzzy werewolf. Who knew? So yeah, it's he's something. And ironically, or not so ironically, he is the fan favorite Darkstalkers character. Okay. So who wins in a fight between Sabrewulf and Jon Talbain? Now, I've already seen a lot of opinions on this because I read the comments, and it's actually a bit conflicting because there are some people who think that Sabrewulf has this outright because of the fact that he defeated two gods in the storyline, Gargos and whoever the other one was. But Jon's defeated Pyron in his storyline. Now, Pyron is an intergalactic being. He's basically Galactus. All right, let's be honest here. He's basically what you would take if you fuse Johnny Storm with Fantastic Four with Galactus. All right, he is an entity of pure fire that harnesses cosmic energy. His actual mass is apparently the size of a solar system, but he compresses it so that he can absorb worlds and blah blah blah. And Jon beat him because again, story mode. So yeah, I'm not sure how I can't compare Gargos to, you know, Pyron, but I would say that kind of cancels it out. Most people would say that because Sabrewulf is heavier, about 250 pounds. I was actually stunned by this. Sabrewulf is 415 pounds. Jon is 156. All right, that's quite a weight difference, but yeah. So if he's heavier, doesn't that mean he can hit harder? Yeah, but it's not exactly that easy because Sabrewulf is pure animal. Jon is a Darkstalker. His strength is massive. Okay, and to give you a great example of this is the robot feats. Sabrewulf can lift up Fulgore in his attacks. That's a 500-pound robot. Jon can slice a 2.2-ton robot in one shot, and he's fought off multiple of them at the same time. All right. So while escaping an exploding train. So based on that, I would give the strength advantage to Jon Talbain. Not the least of which is because while Sabrewulf can launch fiery bats, kind of weird, Jon can launch fiery dragons or fiery werewolf heads. Anime. So anime game. So yeah. The other thing is speed. Okay, there is little doubt that Jon is the faster of the two. Yes, Sabrewulf is fast and he's able to keep up with certain beings, but Jon's just way faster. Based on what I've seen, Jon is faster. Again, he can dodge bullets and is claiming to be as fast as the wind and is the fastest Darkstalker, whereas Sabrewulf is fast, but not that fast. Not that I've read. Again, it's a little complicated because both of these characters have storylines that are based in comics and novellas. So, and it was actually really hard to find some of this data, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, I would give the edge to Jon. Now, durability is a key one here. Based on what I've seen, technically speaking, I think Sabrewulf has more stamina and durability than Jon. But that's I'm not sure I can hold on to that because again, these are two different universes and how they, register damage is quite different. It's kind of like, Street Fighter versus Mortal Kombat, Uh, Sonya Blade versus Cammy. There's no doubt that they can both take damage, but if you look at what Sonya went through, I should have realized at the time, but she takes more damage because her opponents just hit a heck of a lot harder. So I'm not sure about that. I would give that slight edge to Sabrewulf, but I could be wrong on that. So the other problem here is animality. Release your inner animality. Oh, terrible movie. Um, Sabrewulf loses control all the time. That's literally his thing. He even has a move that completely removes his inhibitors so that he can go full wolf. Jon worked very hard to stop that. He is pure man in a wolf body. All right. And thus he can plan, he can rationalize, he can make sure he doesn't use his wolf instincts. And though he does use them at times, including his senses, like with seeing and smell and hearing. But he fights to maintain control, which is why he practices every day with martial arts. So with that kind of a fighting style, again, whether it's Jeet Kune Do or Shotokan Karate, he's got the edge in that. He will be able to see the animality in Sabrewulf and fight him off. Because Sabrewulf's going to want to overwhelm him. And while Jon does usually like to get things up close and personal, he can do some long-range attacks, including the Beast Cannon, which would close in the distance, and then he can wail on him. And then he's got the Dragon Cannon, which is a full-on, full-screen, as they define it, long-range attack, which Sabrewulf doesn't have. He has the bats, but that's it. So because of that, Jon's just got a serious edge. It's animality versus full-on training. Now, it's stated that that Sabrewulf has been around a long time and is the longest living werewolf in history, whatever that means. But just because you live a long time doesn't exactly mean your experience. Plus, remember, Sabrewulf hid himself away at times because he didn't want to unleash his animality. Whereas Jon trained every day so that he could be the best fighter he could, so that he could contain his animality. It's a big difference. So, Jon's got better strength based on what I found. Jon's got better speed based on what I found. He's not the best defensive, but neither is Sabrewulf. Sabrewulf is all about attacking, so that's kind of a wash. Durability might give the edge to Sabrewulf. Maybe, again, it's difficult with the different worlds. And in terms of fighting style, I give it to Jon because while he may be predictable, it's kind of hard for an animal like Sabrewulf to realize what's going on here. And yes, he does have patience at times, but he prefers to go more werewolf than human. And so while he might get an edge on Jon at times, if we're talking about, who kills who first, I give it to Jon. So I am picking Jon Talbain to beat Sabrewulf in this upcoming death battle. And with that, I am ending this episode of Todd Talk. Who do you think is going to win in the Battle of Sabrewulf versus Jon Talbain, and why? And how epic do you think they're going to make this? Because they've been teasing this up for a while. All right, like Luis apparently has gone full tilt on this one, and the music is supposed to be really good. And they have apparently some big calculations coming, so this is good. This is going to be interesting. So let me know in the comments below. So I thank you for watching. If you made this far, I know you were listening, and I'll see you around.